The night carried a biting chill, colder than James was used to. Outside his small home, the street lay in silence, almost too quiet, as though the world itself was holding its breath. He had just stepped onto the porch, weary from another long shift at the factory, when his eyes caught a figure standing at the edge of the yard. She looked fragile, clothes torn, face pale, hands shaking as she clutched at her worn dress, a shadow of someone who had once lived a very different life. Slowly, she raised her head, and their eyes locked. James froze. That face, he knew it. He could never forget. Years ago, she had left him, choosing a man with wealth, charm, and promises of a glamorous life. James had been left behind, forced to piece together the ruins of his heart. And now, here she was, weak, broken, whispering words that cut straight through him. "Can you give me some water?" His chest tightened. She was nothing like the girl he remembered. Her hair was messy, her shoes nearly falling apart, and hunger showed in her every movement. Still, James opened the door, half convinced this was some cruel trick of memory. He handed her a glass, watching as she held it with trembling fingers and drank as though it were her lifeline. James said nothing, but his mind screamed with questions. Where had she been all these years? What had happened to her? And why return to him, of all people? When she finished, her eyes flickered with both shame and relief. She tried to speak, but words stumbled on her lips. "Come inside," James finally said, his voice low. He didn't know why he offered only that something in her eyes wouldn't let him turn her away. She hesitated, dignity warring with desperation, but the cold night pushed her forward. Inside, she stood in his modest living room, glancing at the old couch, the wooden cross on the wall, the faint smell of coffee, so different from the life of chandeliers and fine wine she had once chosen over him. "You must have questions," she whispered. James stayed silent, though inside, his heart battled between curiosity and fear. "I don't need answers," he said flatly. But it wasn't true. She twisted her hands nervously. "I thought I had everything: money, clothes, parties, but it was empty. When he left me, he didn't just walk away. He took everything. I was left with nothing but shame." Her confession sliced through the air. James shifted, torn between anger and pity. He remembered praying for her happiness even while drowning in his own sorrow. "You look at me differently now," she said softly, not with hope, just distance. "You left me," James replied, his jaw tight. "Do you know what that did to me?" She flinched, but didn't deny it. "I do, and I regret it every single day." The room sank into silence, broken only by the ticking clock and the wind outside. Two souls sitting in the wreckage of their past. That night, James couldn't sleep. His heart was a battlefield: anger against compassion, betrayal against the faint pull of forgiveness. By morning, he found her still on the couch, weary, fragile. "Why did you come here?" he asked. Her eyes glistened. "Because I had no one else. Everyone turned away, but I thought maybe you wouldn't." His chest ached. Part of him wanted to push her out, to remind her of the pain she had caused. But another part remembered his mother's words. "Love isn't about keeping score. It's about giving, even when it hurts." He sighed. "You need food, clothes, rest. You can stay here for a while, but don't expect things to go back to how they were." Tears welled in her eyes as she nodded. "Thank you. That's more than I deserve." Days passed. She began cooking, tidying, trying in small ways to show gratitude. James kept his distance, guarding his heart. But one evening, as the sunset painted the sky, she asked softly, "Do you ever wonder why God let me fall so far?" James met her gaze, his own softening. "Maybe so. You'd finally understand the value of what you once had." She broke down in tears. "I don't deserve your kindness." He didn't reply. Instead, he handed her a folded blanket, the same one they had once shared in their younger days. She held it close, as though clinging to fragments of the life she had thrown away. That night, James finally understood. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it does heal the wounds it left behind.